Hello, welcome to 17 square meters garden. In today's video I'm gonna show you how to plant a bareroot rose in a pot. Bareroot rose means it's delivered without a pot and without a growing medium. They are sold in their dormant state between November and April, and that's also the right time of the year to plant them. Okay, the first thing that you will need is a suitable container. I suggest using a container that is at least 45 centimeters wide and 45 centimeters tall for shrub roses. And if you pick the climber, you may need to pick a container that is even slightly larger than this one. Also, don't forget that the container has to have drainage holes at the bottom. And if you pick the climbing rose, don't forget about some sort of plant support, either a trellis or an obelisk, and it's a good idea to place it in the pot right at the planting time. Before we start planting the rose, we have to soak it in a bucket of water for at least 2 hours. You want to really rehydrate those roots before you plant it. In the meantime, let's prepare the pot for planting. The best potting soil for roses is a mix of 50% garden soil and 50% multi-purpose potting mix. Roses are heavy feeders and they also need a lot of moisture, especially when they are grown in containers. So adding at least 50% of garden soil will help to retain moisture and nutrients better. You can buy bagged garden soil at most garden centers. It's sold under different names. It can be called garden soil, something like John Innes No. 3, loam-based compost, or potting soil. I covered the drainage hole with this mesh hole pad, but you can use a cracked terracotta pot or a coffee filter. This is just to prevent the soil from coming out of the pot, but it doesn't impede drainage. Okay, now I'm gonna fill the container to about a half with the potting mix, and I don't add any extra layer of drainage, any extra layer of pebble or gravel at the bottom. Our rose is ready to be planted, so one last important information: nearly all roses are grafted. So the bottom part, the rootstock, and the upper part, the scion, are two different roses that are connected to each other in this graft union, this swollen area here. And it's really important to bury this graft union below the soil surface. This will prevent that bottom rose, the rootstock, from creating suckers. Place your rose in the center of the container and start filling the pot with potting mix. Keep pressing the soil every now and then as you go to make sure there are no air pockets. The rose is planted. One last thing that I will do is I will mulch my container. This is optional, but I highly encourage you to do so because mulch has many great benefits. You can use pretty much anything that you want. You can use pine cones, pebbles, gravel, bark, or a layer of compost. I'm gonna use shredded pine bark. Now the only last thing left to do is to water your rose. I'm gonna reuse the water that I used for soaking. Okay, the rose is planted and off to a good start. You probably won't need to water much around this time of year, but keep in mind that once the weather warms up and your rose is actively growing, it will require more frequent watering and fertilizing than those roses that are planted directly in the ground. So this is gonna be it for today's tutorial. Hope that you found it helpful. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more container gardening ideas and tutorials.